it's possible to open gaps in space-time. But imagining that forms of energy that we do not know can open the doors to an afterlife.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2021 horror thriller They Talk, a film that is directed by Giorgio Bruno and it stars Jonathan Tufenson, Sidney White, Rocio Munoz and Margot Billard. Now this film focuses on a character called Alex Brolin, who is a sound engineer. And while filming with a film crew, he picks up some strange things on his recording devices that sound like voices. This continues, he begins to investigate, and it becomes very, very disturbing. He feels it's got something to do with his past. He seeks help from experts as this begins to get darker and more dangerous. Right. What are my thoughts on They Talk? Well, this is it's a low budget film, but it does have some pretty good low production values going for it. This film, it looks pretty good. It's got some good direction, and the performances, for the most part, by everybody here, are of a good standard. Now, this is like a European film, even though everybody speaks English in this film. Many of the actors' English isn't their first language. For example, I'm not sure where he's from, Jonathan Tufenson. I think he might be Swedish. So it's like you got a few different actors from different parts of Europe playing these roles, but it still works well, and it doesn't certainly take you out of the experience of the film. And as I say, all the performances I think are pretty good here. So that's a good start for this film, and I think the premise here is always interesting. Now, this film reminded me very heavily of the film came out a good few years ago, maybe 20 years ago now, called White Noise. You know, the Michael Keaton horror film. This has a very similar concept to that film, crossed with a little bit. No, I was going to say it was crossed with another film, but I'm not so sure it is. It's definitely very, very similar to White Noise, anyway. And it's more of a mystery thriller than a horror, really, in many aspects. Other than some creepy imagery going on and a couple of minor scares here and there, this film I wouldn't describe as frightening in any way, shape or form. Quite intriguing, interesting at times, but I do honestly think this was definitely, for me, pretty much a missed opportunity. The subject matter is always interesting. Certainly, if you're interested in the paranormal or supernatural or things like that, or voices from the dead, it plays around with those themes and it does them fairly effectively. But it doesn't necessarily do anything majorly interesting with it either. The only real character I found interesting in any way, really, in this film was this character of Alex, played by Jonathan Tufenson. He played the role particularly well, but the film is full of these characters that are really poorly fleshed out. I mean, they're not written particularly well, so they're just not memorable. So these characters will pop up, and you're just trying to think, right, who are you now? How do I know you? Because they just don't stick in your memory, a lot of these characters. And they're all quite similar in appearance and dialogue and all this kind of stuff. So it just really, really confuses you. And then when he goes looking for help, he goes to like this expert sort of thing. Like these, I suppose you could say paranormal experts. So certainly expert in this type of paranormal event sort of thing. And they're supposed to be going there for help, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure out what they actually did to help him, other than talk to him about what's going on and kind of validate what he is saying. I don't necessarily feel as though they helped. And then the ending, for me, came out of nowhere. It was an ending that, to me, that didn't feel earned. I didn't necessarily understand it, and it's one of those films that lead you down these few plot lines and you're not sure how you got there, and if that makes sense. Sometimes I'll watch a film and then something will happen, or something will happen near the end, and I'm just thinking, how did we get there? How's that happened? Have I missed something? Have I lost focus in this film? How's that kind of happened? And it happened here in this film. There's a character in this film that is kind of hanging on his coattails for much of the film because she needs help as well, and something happens near the end, and I'm just kind of think, well, where did that come from? Didn't expect that, didn't understand it, not sure it was earned, sort of thing. And then it does like a double twist right at the end, and again I was scratching my head thinking, where's that come from? How have we got to this? So it doesn't explain itself in a sense of it's poorly written in that sense, because you keep constantly feel like you've missed something when you're watching this film. You've missed a major plot point, or you've missed some major dialogue or something like that, and it just doesn't explain itself particularly well. I don't think this is a bad film. I just don't think it's a film that's particularly easy to follow. It's not particularly well written in the sense of it doesn't almost feel like it's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's just this guy searching for this white noise as an answer to these voices he's hearing, and how it's connected to his past. And that's another thing it doesn't particularly explain well enough in regards to how it's connected to its past. It's all just kind of thrust at you, the answers, and the answers to me just didn't make sense. So, a bit of a shame. There's some benefit here of watching this film, especially if you like this type of horror film, like paranormal or supernatural type horror film. But it's not what I would call a particularly frightening film either. So, I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.